as it comes. And yeah, I think we're live.
I think we're live.
There we go. I think normally, I need to hit the intro, the little things manually on this system. It's been a little while, but we're back on the Celtic here. If you're watching this after we've been live, you'll be catching this bit. No one here live at the moment. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Please do hit the like button, get into the comment section and let us know thoughts and feelings, and shout at us all you want, really. And everything else in between. But we're back, and it's me, Quinny, and I'm joined again by McBrideACE. McBride, good to see you, mate. Hail, hail.
Hello, hail, hail. Hope everyone's well. It's been a wee while. We've not had a show for a few weeks, so it's good to be back.
And again, back in, making it a midfield free setup we've got here is Mark Patrick Rare. Mark, good to see you, mate. Hail, hail.
Good to see you guys. Good to be back. Hail, hail. And you know what? I feel let down. We didn't have that entrance music as we were coming in there. G's me up. It's a bit like my kind of, like Ultimate Warrior music as he came out. It was the bouncing, grabbing the ropes. So yeah, but no, it's good to be back. A lot's been happening. A lot of, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of negativity to talk about, but certainly a lot to talk about. And looking forward to another 12-0 victory against St Johnstone at the weekend.
Well, we can only hope. And well, the form is the main thing I suppose we'll be talking about. Mainly negative throughout the season is what has been, unfortunately, the kind of sentiment around a lot of the performances and stuff. But we're starting to see little green shoots. You suspect here and there, but is it smoke and mirrors or not? I suppose we'll be getting into that, predicted 11s and all the rest of it in the stream today. Sorry, I'm getting tongue twisted on this one. But McBride, what we were talking about before we jumped on was obviously you're sporting the 12th kit of the season. so tell us all about it. Is it any good?
It's a belter. I never expected it to come so quickly, to be honest. But there we go. As I said to you earlier, I'm off this week and having a few flutters at Cheltenham, so I thought I'll spend my money in worse than an our Celtic kit. But I can see everybody's sort of reply to that was, sorry, we've tried hard to get the deals over the line, and we can't buy it in this window in this difficult March and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of irony flying about in the social media against the board and stuff. But there we go. I'm a sap. It's an Irish Celtic top, and couldn't really resist it. But there we go.
Good to hear. I say I've had the misfortune of getting useless kits the last 2 times, so maybe one I'll be skipping. But it's a belter. I was just saying as well before we came on, like imagine that was the away kit and the anniversary kit was the home kit. It would have been you'd have sold buckets of them for fun for years, to come. So they're quality kits, but it's sad they'll never see paradise themselves.
I think the thing is, those kits, like as you say, that like they look great, and certainly a bit badly planned and thought through, because ultimately, as you said, they're not going to wear them, and it just, the timing is a little bit off. It's in light of a lot of the activities that's went on. Granted, it's probably been already. I mean, know that I'd like, but if that's if that's just off the cuff, kind of not being planned in advance, then it's disappointing. But I don't know if it's, I mean, if we were 10 points clear and a much happier sentiment, we'd probably be going, oh, it's a belter. Everybody, oh, it's lovely. But yeah, it's just an air of negativity in general.
Yeah, if it feels that way, especially with the interim accounts that people are expecting to come out, that should signal that there's even more cash than the last time, which is just hilarious. We had a video out on the channel a few days ago about the Celtic Trust and all their stuff that they're trying to get together for supporters, to get the shareholdings that the supporters already own, essentially, together to be able to express the will of the fans on the board, is the way I have put it, to try and keep it succinct. But if any of you might check that out, feel free to check out on the Celtic here channel. And yeah, I feel no one's going to really buy this kit as much as the centenary one or the anniversary one at the beginning of the season, because a little bit of the sentiment and everything as well that's just been around this season with the lack of transfer business. And even like probably since the last time we've been on, it's kind of why I'm struggling to get my foot in here, because I'm thinking there's just been so much stuff happen since the last time we've had on. Like even in the last week or 10 days, I think maybe at a push, but like Bernabe's went to Brazil, you know, and also the Mikey Johnson sensation and Nicholas Kuhn having a performance maybe against Livingston, and things in my head does get hair, and you know, like can't make my way for the rest of the season. Yeah, there's been so much going on over the last, like really, and over what space of time is that all that stuff happened really over the last 2 weeks or so. So there's the shirt as well, which has also just came out. You've got it straight on pre-order, McBride, and got it on for the Cheltenham Festival. And yeah, it just feels like that was the first thing to kind of get us going with. But the big focus of the week, of course, is St Johnstone, the final game of this section of the domestic calendar before we go off into that international break. And then it's the final chapter of the season where winners and losers are decided, and where there is a derby match or two probably to come. So it's a big performance. I'm thinking coming into this St Johnstone game, like with the kind of form that we've maybe had over the last couple of matches and form we've had earlier this season, it does give me Aberdeen vibes back in Christmas. We ended up winning that game quite convincingly on the score sheet right at the very end. But one of those games where it feels like the squad are maybe in a little bit of an ascendancy, maybe like 20% or so, give or take. How do you guys feel coming into the weekend?
Absolutely ripped them apart, zero doubt. I think the thing is, like, you know, in terms of against the likes of St Johnstone, I know that I've put nils that have ended up one each, but I mean, realistically, ended up those kind of score lines because, you know, we've not scored at the moments where really it would have been required in order to put the foot in the neck, you know, ultimately just to kill them off and, you know, hit 4 or 5 more, get the game totally dead, bring on the subs at the 60, 70th minute, just absolutely annihilate them. And I think as well, we've not, under Brendan,
your signal's breaking up,
Mark.
Not
had that we had under Ange was, you know, an ability to through. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're kind of chopping in and out. So if you maybe get some other
gone but not forgotten.
not quite, but not far off.
Right, sorry, guys. Just give me a moment.
Full time. Carrega, Benfica.
1-0.
The quadruple is off. They're not going to Dublin now.
Tremendous.
That's good.
Am I back with a bang?
It feels like you're good to go.
Right. Thanks. Sorry about that, guys.
And then we get.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think the way that we've attacked teams under Brendan is substantially different than, you know, what we had under Ange. I think there's you know, we're struggling to break down teams that sit behind the ball. You know, we're not really properly, you know, getting the penetrating balls through the middle that are actually, you know, opening teams up. But too much wasted play that's resulting in nothing in games that we really should be smashing teams like St Johnstone's and, you know, St Mirren's and such, like, are ending up, you know, they've been taking points off. As the Kilmarnock game was another lately where Kilmarnock scored that one right at it's just a killer. But Dundee's actually, you know, we've properly just smashed a team the way that, you know, we should have. If anything, we took our foot off the gas at a point. We should have just went 10, 11, you know, proper, really put them to bed. But yeah, I feel there's too many other the game itself is a little bit under me, and as much as that, I think it's more important the performance from certain players. But I mean, we can't beat St Johnstone, then whatever at home, then even be having conversations about anything after that. But I think that it's important that key players for the team, Kyogo, you know, the midfield obviously now, because you're bringing guys into there that are not quite as settled as a unit together. Is it Bernardo? Is it going to be, Kyogo pushed up and Ada up top, or is it just going to be Ada or Kyogo with Bernardo in the midfield? Personally, Bernardo in the midfield wouldn't be my pick, but I think it's just important there's a bit of momentum from those guys that are now going to be relied on at the end of the season to do the business, and I think another part as well is just keeping a clean bill of health at the end of the game, because it just seems every time you look at Celtic news at the moment, somebody's injured or some wee guy somewhere is spreading a rumour about players being injured, namely Callum McGregor. Optimism. I mean, come on, we should be smashing St Johnstone. They are a horrible team, terrible football club. They should be obliterated by Celtic. The points should be submitted at the desk prior to any games. They are a horrible team, and I'm not concerned about the result, but we want a big performance.
Yeah, I agree with that. I did watch the game on Sunday, and we looked pretty good going forward, which was good. Livingston, with it being a cup tie, maybe didn't really have the same tactics, but I thought we looked pretty good. I mean, Maeda was really lively. I thought Kuhn was by far his best game in a Celtic shirt anyway, and it was a wee bit of a worry because Yang was really, really coming into form before he got suspended. Such a shame with the red card, but Kuhn played really well too. I think looked really open at the back. I mean, Stephen Welsh, I just don't think he's just not good enough for me. It's really confusing as a season how you can have a guy there like Lagerbielke, who was a Swedish Defender of the Year, I think, and he just doesn't seem to get a game at all. But when you look at Welsh and Scales playing there and the goals that Livingston scored and stuff, you're just thinking, wow, I mean, that's just far too easy. But I agree, obviously, with Mark. I mean, we should. You were thinking we're scoring a few goals at home. Hopefully, looks like Carter Vickers was back in some form of training today. So if we can get him in, that's a big thing. And then midfield wise, Matt O'Reilly for me has been awful second half of the season. I mean, I know this transfer speculation and everything can be pretty difficult for a player, etc. But his form for the first half of the season compared to the second half of the season just been totally sort of night and day. And the second goal at the weekend, he was completely to blame for that goal as well, which should not really like him because he is a top player. And I think this game I'd like to see is find a way to get Furuhashi into that team as well. Maybe go Awata, O'Reilly, and play Furuhashi with either Maeda and Kuhn, because I think that would be really fun to watch and would be the best sort of solution if St Johnstone ultimately might just come in and just think, well, Dundee have conceded 7 goals here, so we're going to really, really sit in here and just take our chances of getting to later on in the game. So I hope we go that sort of attacking way, but I really do fancy us to score a few goals. I'm in Mark's camp. I don't think it'll be like 7 or 8-0 or anything, but I think, be surprised if we don't score 3 or 4 goals in this game anyway, Quinny.
I hope so. I think we probably should get over 3.5 goals or so in this game quite comfortably. But I do think when it comes to the midfield three, I think for this game you probably do just roll Bernardo into this, because after the international break he's probably not going to kick another ball for you, and because Bernardo's been coming off for Kelly. Kelly's been getting the second half of a game or whatever when the game's maybe a bit more kind of moved on, or it's a bit more in our hands at some point. So I can see that kind of thing just finishing out this little segment. I do think as much as O'Reilly gets so much attention at the moment is not being up to scratch or not or being crap or whatever, but I really think a lot of it is a bit overstated, because I think the only difference really with O'Reilly the now or in this kind of bad patch and isn't he's doing anything bad. It's just that he's not winning his matches anymore. You know, he's just not like scoring a goal. He's just not setting guys up to finish as much. And I think a lot of that comes down to his job isn't really the same at times. I think Brendan Rodgers, if you like when we all watch Celtic, you see Matt O'Reilly's nowhere near the 18-yard box. Like in actual, like we are dominating possession and we are trying to now open up the team. And when we're doing that, he drops into those little spaces between the defenders and like the inverted fullback and everything, and try to make me triangles, giving goes on the line, and then it goes into the box or something. And it's like, how can he, you know, we're kind of saying to him, "I'll go and win us the match," but then we're sticking them out on the touchline doing tiki-taka, you know. So I think it's a bit harsh for him, but I think Iwata maybe gives him a bit more freedom to maybe not do that as much in terms of holding those positions when we're in possession, because it's a comfort thing. It's the worry of losing the ball. He's in a good position to make sure that we don't get done. That's kind of the setup with it. But with Iwata, maybe you can take a wee bit more of a risk, if you can even call it a risk, in terms of having O'Reilly a bit closer to the box. So I think keeping the continuity in midfield in terms of the system is the most important thing. And with it's getting maybe Iwata and O'Reilly getting their distances proper.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're saying there. That's what I was kind of getting at with like Furuhashi playing in the 10, because obviously if you play Bernardo in there, then O'Reilly naturally is going to be the furthest forward out of the midfielders. I mean, he's definitely more involved now as well. You forget too that when Palma was like sort of coming into the team and doing well, he was taking all the sort of set pieces and everything as well. And it might sound like a subtle thing, but you know, in terms of like expected assists and all that type of stuff, it does make a difference when you're more dominant in the game, when you're taking set plays, corners, all that type of stuff. I mean, his return has dropped, and that might be linked to the fact he was playing just a wee bit deeper. But you know, it should be a game. I do think that I remember the game in Perth, and I'm pretty sure St Johnstone played very, very, very negatively, if I remember it correctly. So I think it was one of Levine's first games, and I think they really, really, really sat back at home. So I'd be really pretty shocked if they don't come to Parkhead and really sit in, and then that means Celtic will have a lot of the ball. So even if O'Reilly's not playing as advanced, he should still be able to get enough of the ball to try and sort of affect the game and stuff as well.
Yeah, I think they are maybe that kind of level, and that's why Mark.
Like, he's kind of. I mean, when he. Sorry, my connection's horrid here, guys. Sorry. But yeah, I think O'Reilly, since he's came to Celtic, you know, he kind of came as a guy that, you know, was, you know, more of an attacking threat than a defensive threat. Combined really well, particularly that kind of first instance with, you know, like Sakiogo and Hitati and Aaron Moy as well. There was some nice, you know, kind of good players around about him. I think this season he's been put in a position where, you know, he's lumping the ball into the box at times like that, where there's no, you know, there's no. So there's a kind of at times it just feels like there's not the opportunity for him to do the things, because the game plan is different, the space is different from the other team. He's now putting the ball into the box for Kyogo, and ultimately Kyogo's got 3-4 guys in there with him. He's not going to do anything. Orange, it was very different. They'd be small passes, like Andrew would tell Kyogo and Maeda to come outside the box and collect the ball and you know, look for passes that's real eye and needle passes to bring in other guys and the wingers and the wing backs. And I think like you've seen in part of the season a real drop off in O'Reilly's performances. I thought in Europe he was the SPL games, some of the games, I mean, he went a good run there without getting goals and assists. And for a guy who, you know, was, you know, and Sorare, for example, was definitely one of the top players on the platform. So a big drop off. But yeah, I think just a big. I thought the last couple of games he's been great. Incidentally, like as has looked great. Maybe his output hasn't been as great as it was, but his his performance, in my opinion, is starting to look better. But yeah, in terms of being the guy that's going to be the match winner and all that, hopefully we can get him back in that zone.
Yeah, I think so. I think that is probably the biggest part of that as well. And, like Dies Maeda's coming into some good form, which I'm sure we can have some fun talking about as well. But regularly on this stream anyway, Iwata is definitely somebody who we've thought, especially in the absence of Hatate, would really help us fill the gaps that we've got and keep the wheels on the track, as it were. And I think already he's starting to kind of grow into that kind of role in the midfield. And I do think that potentially, it really does depend on this whole Callum McGregor situation, but a midfield of someone like Iwata who can properly defend, letting O'Reilly get a bit higher up into the box and almost that, like again, O'Reilly, when he's been at his best, I know set pieces and stuff like that come into it, but when he's been at his best, those games that he's like pressing alongside Kyogo on the back four, he's basically up front, and when he's been that is most influential for us. So to have a midfielder that high, you need to have, like kind of cover. And then in the middle, you need the water carrier, obviously. And McGregor's been fine with it this year, but he's not been as, and I think that's where the criticism for him comes, is because you expect him to be a bit more dynamic and operate between the lines a bit more, and he is just a wee bit playing on the edge of matches far too often. But Hatate, who we expect to see actually back in the team after the international break, that's his clear strength, is those tight spaces, give and goes, take 1-2 touch stuff. So having him maybe come inside these two, like that might be the perfect combination for us to go and finish this season, regardless of McGregor's injury situation or not. Thoughts on Iwata and such?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, we have had a lot of injuries this season. There's no doubt about it. Like, coming back to what I was saying about how we look so open at the back. Big CCV's got good recovery pace and stuff, and he's best Celtic defender I've seen for a good while in terms of being a centre back, and he's never really seemed to be fully fit at any point this season. Hatate coming into the same sort of bracket there, because even at the start of the season, remember way back to the first game Turnbull played, I even FOMO'd in and bought a David Turnbull card on Sorare. Hendel was slagging me for it. Hendel's not on here, and he was right. But Hatate, every time he's sort of seemed to be getting going, he's got injured as well. So I think that if Celtic can get these guys back and get them and keep them fit and keep them firing, then having all those options will be really good. Because even with Maeda being back on form, I mean, for a while he had an injury as well, and when he came back, he looked really quite low in confidence. Whereas now he looks as if he's fully fit, he's himself, he's harassing guys all the time. And after he scored that really good goal against, I think it was the one against Dundee, where he just chopped inside and put it in with his left foot, it just looks as if he's hit a real sort of confidence level again. So I do think, I mean, have we given ourselves too much to do? I don't know. I've seen George McIntyre's comments on here saying, he can't see us winning anything. To be honest, I've kind of got one of those feelings as well. I've been sort of in the optimistic boat and everything, but I just kind of get the feeling that we're going to fall short this season. I hope I'm wrong, but even with all the injuries and everything, it just seems that every time you get Vickers fit and you think you're going to get a run with a settled back four and stuff like that, he picks up some sort of niggle every time Hatate comes back. Obviously, McGregor we rely on a lot, and he's hardly ever injured, and now we're having to go through a spell where he's not on the team. So hopefully we can get through the next couple of games and get all these guys fit and firing, and then it is in our own hands with the games against Rangers coming up. But I get that feeling as well. I just get that feeling this season that there's just something that's just not right or working against us, or just isn't happening. It's like my bets at Cheltenham this week. So
see, I actually think with Hatate, if we can get him back into the team and he is fit, he's the one guy that can be the difference maker. He's the best player. He's the most talented player at Celtic. I know that a lot of people on his role got a bit carried away and to Hatate. But Hatate is just freakishly naturally talented, and Rangers ultimately don't have a plan to stop Hatate if they come up against us. But particularly their defensive players just can't deal with Hatate. So I think if we can get our best 11 on a pitch, particularly because realistically that game or the games against Rangers are going to be massive, So I think provided we can have Hatate on a pitch, Carter Vickers on a pitch, which I think is probably the more dubious one based on the stop start all the time, then I'm confident that Rangers will bottle it, because as we've seen tonight and most games, don't get me wrong, they get to, you can see that there's a massive improvement. But I watched the game with Motherwell. As you know, I watch lots of the SPL teams because I'll just I don't know, I'm a junkie for SPL football, the greatest league in the world. And I felt that Motherwell win, and I think there was another game earlier on in the season where Rangers they'd beaten Motherwell at Ibrox and Motherwell pounded them for the whole game. So a wee bit of revenge there for Motherwell. They comfortably beat Hearts, obviously. Hearts, an overpowered team in the SPL. You'd fancy Hearts will finish third comfortably, really, I'd imagine now. But yeah, I'm just not impressed with Rangers when it came to a game where, the heat was on for them to go and really hit home an advantage, and they bottled it. I think when there's a real psychological thing, particularly with the big bottling captain right back, just not get that real solid, born out and out winner mentality. McGregor is just a real. I mean, a lot of people have been complaining about McGregor. I actually think it's been a tough season for him, but I think he's been really, really good for us, particularly in games where we've been up against it. Like you mentioned, the St Johnstone away game, it was a horrific first half. We came out in the second half. I believe he scored, didn't he, in the second half? Second half, and comes out in the second half, and we just look a much better team. And there's been a lot, probably too much more of that than we'd like as fans. But I think McGregor's actually done pretty well for us this year, and certainly these fixtures that he's going to be out. Provided it's Livingston and St Johnstone, shouldn't be a miss. But you want him back for that Rangers, just to really, just to get that kind of psychological edge plus experience, but just composure on the ball and those moments. I mean, every time we go into Rangers games at Ibrox, I always feel nervous and tense, but then the game starts and I go, oh, we've got so much space here. They always start like headless chickens, come running out like mad. The crowd just affects them, and then the game opens up. They always seem to have that 5-10 minute spell at the beginning of the game where they're full of energy and passion and everything, and then all the space just opens up for us, and it's space that we don't get in other games. We're suddenly just like, oh, wait a minute, Hatate can play in there, Maeda can play in there. Oh, wait a minute, we can pick them off. So I agree. I understand, and McBride's saying it's totally right. It's logical. These performances this Christmas have been diabolical. Some of the games have been really hard to watch. Defensively, we look like we're going to concede in every game, especially right at the end. If there's a goal in it, you just go, yeah, there's going to be a last-minute goal conceded here. So you feel less of that, I have to say, when Carter Vickers is on the pitch. I don't know about you, but I feel when he's in central defence, I feel far more comfortable knowing that we've got a defender that can actually properly defend. Absolutely disagree with that take that Lagerbielke must be. But Carter Vickers and Scales for me. Let's not fool around with that.
But how fit is Vickers, and do you want to play him on the plastic pitch? Or sorry, sorry. That was That was sorry. I went back in
Not
time
the
for a minute there.
Yeah. So I want to play him. I want to play him on Saturday for sure. I want to get him out there against St Johnstone, smash them. Then, as you said, give him the rest for the Livy game as we go and beat them 9-0.
Yeah, time traveling there. But I think, like, so I was thinking this when how bad Welsh and Scales had done together with Lagerbielke sitting on the bench there. You guys will remember as well as I do, but we had a period of, I've just been back to look here. I think it was 5 games across League in Europe, maybe 6, where Lagerbielke and Scales was the partnership. And in a derby match, not in Europe, granted, but like 4 out of the 5 games, we got clean sheets, which has not happened very often this season, and trying to, make Welsh the next guy in line, fair enough, if he's good enough. But, when the squad has been so disjointed, if Carter Vickers can't play that role with what we've seen maybe from Welsh, the Rocky's obviously injured, why doesn't Lagerbielke get the minutes?
I think he's just made the decision on Lagerbielke, to be honest. I mean, it kind of whiffs a wee bit of Rodgers being a wee bit anti-Celtic's recruitment and stuff, So, like you mentioned earlier, the Bernabei decision, right? And I'm not doubting that getting him away was a good or a bad decision, all that type of stuff. It seemed quite clear that he wasn't good enough. But what's really quite weird is just the actual timing of it as well. So you don't sign a left back in January. We were all sitting here talking in January about signing the left back. Me and you we're on the deadline show where we're talking about not signing a left back, about the Owen Beck thing. Greg Taylor got injured and Bernabei had to play. Now all of a sudden, Rodgers is saying, "Oh, well, don't worry about it. If something happens, Scales can go out there and stuff like that." And you're like, "Oh, yeah." Scales has played every game pretty much this season at centre half, whether or not you agree or disagree with his form and how he's done and stuff. And it just seems a sort of weird scenario. So it's almost as if it's like, well, we're having a clear out and we made the decision, we're having a clear out and we don't care about anything else. We're just going to have to work around it. And I think that's what's happened with Lagerbielke. He was on his way. He was nearly in Italy or whatever. And then some Vickers had a recurrence and then they stopped the deal. But I still don't really know why they stopped the deal, to be honest, because he's not actually played any minutes, even with other injuries and stuff just now. He's not played any minutes on the pitch. So, yeah, I'd rather we just let the guy go and just say, well, okay, if, manager doesn't like you, whatever, away over and play over there, and then you find a way to sort of move on. It just seems a weird one. I see Jay's saying justice for UK, but I mean, there's some sort of report out today as well to say that he's not agreed to go either. But I mean, why are we keeping guys like this here just in the off chance that 7 people get injured or whatever? 7 people get injured, 7 people get injured. There's nothing we can do about that. But do we really need all these guys here? Just seems a weird one to me. But
did he not join the Antlers, or was that deal fell through?
There was some chat of it, but there's something come out. I think it's Mark Henry said that it's not been agreed yet or something of that description. Now, you'll know how long is the Japanese window still open for. It can't really have that much to go because even the Brazilian window's closed now, isn't it? So it must be closed soon.
I'll find out.
Yeah, I think it is closed very soon. I think the thing is, just to take the point about Lagerbielke and generally the kind of fan horde for players to be dropped or changed or whatever. Did Rodgers say that he would play Scales at left back if need be?
Yeah, somebody asked him about it, and they said, we've had a spell where Greg Taylor was injured, and he said, I think we're still okay, and remember that Liam Scales could cover that position. That was his answer, and it really stuck in that.
That's worrying, isn't it? I mean, Liam Scales is a terrible left back, and I mean, I think we've praised him so much this season, and for the improvement that he's made as a central defender, and how he's been a massive part of Celtic in the plus sides. But yeah, you put him. I mean, you only little spells he had with Ireland at left back destroyed. He's just not quick enough, and I think that's it. It's not really. It's not any more difficult than that. I understand that people just go left foot, left back logic. It doesn't work like that though. You imagine him against Rangers at left back against those wingers that have got pace. Oh my, we'll get annihilated. Whether you like or dislike Taylor or Bernabei, as you said, far more effective. Their fullbacks skills concerns me. Bielka, I mean, in that Old Firm, the Rangers game, I thought he was really poor. Obviously, the famous tackle that could have been sending off or whatever, but I thought he was really poor that day in general. I never seen any. I've said this before. I've not seen anything in him to make me think, wow, there's anything better than Carter Vickers' skills, or even Naroki. I think I'd put Naroki, ASAP Rocky as our third best at the moment. But I mean, I go back to, we could talk about it so often since the beginning of the season about poor recruitment and why was he signed, and Brendan. I was relatively happy when Brendan came back at Celtic. I think it's fair to say that he's been entirely underwhelming in his second spell back at Celtic. Some of the do you know what I think it is? Like, that's why I had to ask you that question there, McBride. Is like, I'm surprised that he said that, because it's such a mad comment to, like, we've not signed a left back, we've just let another left back go to Internacional, and I don't know if you guys follow much of the Brazilian league, but I know that team well, because they've just signed Rafael Sanchez Borre from Frankfurt. He was on loan to Werder Bremen, and they've also got former Shakhtar Donetsk super Brazilian Alan Patrick in midfield, so they're a really good team, by the way. They've got that other Argentinian guy up front as well. Alan Patrick, yeah, he sounds like a relative of mine. I wish he was. I'd be getting a tap off him. But I just feel like that he's going there into a right good team, in Internacional. It's not like, he's going to the Brazilian Serie B or Serie C. They're a right good team that will be playing. I think they're in the Copa Libertadores.
If he gets a game,
right, good outfit.
That's true.
I get that's the point, because I know they had that boy, the boy that was at Spartak Moscow, didn't they? Ayrton. I don't know if he's still there. He's a hell of a good left back. But anyway, the fact that they are signing him, I think, is like a sign that they've seen, because they don't sign Diddy's. Like, they've clearly seen him, not for his defensive attributes. I don't think anyone's ever going to sign him.
I was going to say, see if you're being scouted by a Brazilian team, it would explain the way he's been defending, because he's been defending as if he's in a Brazilian defence. The way it's just he's just going for it with some of the tackles and the way he runs about. He'll fit right in, I think. Nobody will give him any hassle for playing like that over there.
Totally. Absolutely. And I think, like, just my kind of final point about that kind of fan contribution to player, form and performance. Like, some I like that name. Who's the snitch? Some of the comments to like Kyogo and Maeda. I mean, anyway, there was so much abuse Maeda was getting before the team was named, because it was his 100th performance, and you're like, what is going on here? This is one of your best players, certainly one of the best performers over the last 2-3 seasons. Clearly came out brilliant performance, hat-trick at the weekend, looks dangerous. At times is maybe a bad form, but when Matt O'Reilly has bad form, nobody really gets that tore into him. When Maeda gets bad form, it's laughing and giggling away and no support. I think you've got to make absolute space in that team for Kyogo and Maeda, because they're just real class. He's in that Japan again. Maeda even doesn't. He's just irrespective of the scenario. Maeda's in that Japan team with real top world class players in there. So, we need to appreciate it and understand that these guys can be difference makers in us winning the league, because I still very much think that is on.
for sure. I went to have a look at the old Ayrton thing, but we've got Strangelove the Doctor. I want to talk to us about relationism and positionalism and all these very highbrow football tactical philosophies and theses and methods of all the rest of it. I'm not that up on it yet, Strangelove the Doctor, to be quite frank with you, but I've seen Brazilian football enough to know that I don't think Bernabeu will get booked as often in that division as he will in Scotland for some of the defending that we've seen from him, certainly. But, it's not I'm certainly not watching Brazilian football on the regular at the moment. I don't see Ayrton in that squad anymore, so that could be funny.
Yeah.
If he does pick up a few positions, a few things, we'll have a sell-on clause, won't we? So if they do manage to get a song out of him, then at least we'll be on for it.
Ayrton's at Flamengo.
Sorry, my bad. What? Okay, Flamengo. Yeah, because he was.
You do play in red, so it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, getting my Brazilian left backs mixed up. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about your instincts, though. I mean, I think the Brazilian teams, one thing that happens to them as well is they've got a really congested schedule. So at the moment they're playing in a sort of more regional type competition. I don't think the league starts again until April, but we all love them in Sorare because play through the summer and then they play loads of midweeks and stuff. So obviously they've got Libertadores and that type of stuff, but they play a huge amount of fixtures in that league as well. So probably it might suit them because maybe they'll play them in more of the sort of home type fixtures, the attacking type fixtures, and they do often rotate players anyway, so that's not really that uncommon in that league. But let's hope he does well. I mean, I think he's shite, so sorry, but let's hope he does well and he buggers off. But I mean, he does obviously something about him, but the guy is just I don't think he's suited to playing. Hello, Mr. Widots. 3-0 for Liverpool already. The Liverpool fan. He just isn't really suited to that sort of setup at Celtic where you've just got to win every single game because he's got bad mistakes in him. He's got bad positional sense in him. He was to blame for that goal against Kilmarnock at the end and stuff. And you knew when he came on that he was a liability in terms of conceding a goal there. It's just not surprising when he does something like that, and that's a problem. Maybe in due course he'll iron some of that stuff out his game and he'll mature, but he'll not get that time at Celtic, and that's one of the paradoxes with our strategy of getting good young players in, because we're at a football club where you don't get a season and a half to mature, right? We've got to win this league this season, and that's it. It's not just about player development, which is the weird thing with our sort of overall strategy. So there we go.
Paul, one of my pals there.
It is quite a good point around the kind of level, because part of the thing, with even Bernabeu's example, but the living, breathing example of it at the moment is Mikey Johnson, where some guys, Scottish football is, we know it's not elite football, right? But it is also quite a hard version of football to come and be good at if you aren't ready for it or aren't up for it, and whatever else that je ne sais, that intangible thing. If you don't bring that with you, then you're not going to survive it. And some people need to be in that environment where they've got a bit more space and it's not that pressure on them, and it could be a variety of things, but Timo Pukki was the one that melted my brain, how he couldn't do anything for us, and then all of a sudden he was a decent bloody Premier League striker after a couple of years.
I say this all the time, right? And I mean, I've said this in this show for a long time now. I've talked about Mikey Johnson and said Mikey Johnson will go somewhere and he'll be brilliant. And people in the wee comments laugh. Mikey Johnson's talent's never been in question. When you're at Celtic, you've got to win. And it doesn't matter. Remember, there was a game Mikey Johnson come on. Did he not score 2 goals? And he came on and scored 2 goals.
Dundee game, I think it was.
Comes on, scores 2 goals, does brilliant. Everyone's a big furore. Mikey Johnson, he's back with a bang, he's brilliant. And then suddenly, the next game, Mikey Johnson starts the match, does relatively poorly. I think that was the Hearts game, was the game that came next. He was pretty poor, and then hooked, and then back again. The fans are you know, clamouring for the next, I think it was Yang to come back in, you know, so there's that kind of constant, you know, 90 minutes has been, you know, you're great or you're terrible. You're only 90 minutes away from having that little Sean Mills making videos about you. And I think that, you know, ultimately, you know, we're at a point where Mikey Johnson, and let's be honest, I think we certainly in our Discord with the Sorare Odyssey, the majority of our Discord's all English boys, league teams and championship teams, and you know, constantly making all the cliche. Yes, it was a brilliant result for Benfica. Who's the snitch? Love the name. And you know, you're at a point where, you know, they're making all those cliched types of references about Farmers League and the players couldn't do it here and whatever. It's good to actually highlight that coming to Scotland and being a big name or whatever doesn't mean anything. Because if you're going to come to Celtic or be, you know, come to Rangers, you look at that boy Fabio's been fairly average at Rangers, and you're under pressure. You've got to do it every week. You've got to score goals every game, every week. If you don't, then I mean, Kyogo's close to being Celtic, but also fans are like now so heavy on his case. I think he's played well, but it just shows you the pressure of being at Celtic. So I think players feel that, particularly I think if you've been brought up in the Celtic system, you understand that pressure. So you imagine the relief of going to someone 10 leagues down like West Brom, who, you know, are playing in the minnow leagues of, I don't know, is that even an amateur league in England, that league? You know, and he's absolutely, I've watched every goal's a screamer, by the way. It's absolute screamers he's scoring. He looks like, I've seen some of the videos we've shared in the group chat where it's like, you know, the one where it says Mikey Johnson when he's suddenly not getting any pressure on him and a Celtic team, and then it's prime Ronaldo, R9, just skinning about 10 guys and putting it in the back of the net. And I think like that's, you know, it's an incredible turnaround for Mikey Johnson, and I hope it continues because he is a great talent. And I think, by the way, see, at the same time, I think there's about 3 or 4 more at Celtic that would maybe benefit from doing that. Probably won't. You know, we spoke about Ralston doing the same. I think, you know, McBride said that he's never going to leave Celtic ever. James Forrest looks like he's never going to leave. You know, Welsh probably should. Welsh is a guy that probably hung about Celtic for too long. Really just needs to go and be a starter somewhere, do something with his career. You know, but I do like that boy Kelly. I think that boy Kelly is special. I think he's going to be real. He's the real deal for us.
Yeah. I think there's other ones as well. So got the lad Summers. He was the actual academy player of the year, and he's went out on loan. I think he had a bit of an injury and stuff, but at least he'll be getting some games and stuff out there as well. And you're right. I mean, it might just be a scenario where Mikey Johnson doesn't suit Celtic at all, but you know he does very well elsewhere. And I know you're joking about the level of the Championship. I've watched a few Championship teams, and it is a pretty competitive league as well, obviously. So you know, we do sometimes you see guys who are so rare and you think, oh, like a Championship move, that's brilliant, and then they don't particularly sort of score very well and all that sort of stuff as well. So you know, it's good to see him doing well, and ultimately that'll be more money that we won't spend well on transfers. So we'll get more money in. We've got we've not talked about it yet, but we've got 7 or 8 million or whatever in for Abada. Bernabei's obviously off the wage bill. Talk of Kobayashi going. There's rumours of Siegrist being courted by Aberdeen in the summer and stuff. So we do seem to be starting to do a pretty good job of getting guys out. I think the main issue with obviously Mark Lawwell going, being the scapegoat and everything is getting the right system in place to sign the right players that we want to come in. And it's a funny one as well, just to wrap it on. We went to Celtic Foundation night and Brendan Rodgers was there, and he unsolicited mentioned quality 3 times when he was up on the stage. So that's his buzzword at the moment, is just like quality and stuff. And it was the night after the 7-1, so that was a kind of icebreaker. I was like, I bet you're looking forward to this much more after we scored 7 goals last night. But yeah, the actual quality, or the right recruitment that suits how we want to play and how we want to progress, rather than just getting guys that we think might be a good punt to be worth 3-4 times as much in 2 years or whatever, you know.
I think I'm with you there, McBride. I think the Mikey Johnston thing is funny, right? Because what's kind of occurred to me as we're speaking, right, is we've got him on loan and we're hoping to maybe sell him for a couple of coins after the season's finished. Imagine our team was actually doing amazing right now. Imagine we were scalping teams 4 and 5 now, and he couldn't get in our team, and that's why he was at West Brom, and then he was doing that. How you would think about the value of our squad and how good they are then would be massive, because the Championship is a decent level and West Brom are at the top of it, But the fact that it's like an anomaly, it's just weird, because we kind of need a guy like him, and he got opportunities, kind of did it, but like at West Brom, he's playing left wing, and the problem is when he was getting in and around the team, we had to play Palma left wing because we just bought Palma and he wears number 7. Somebody thought that was a great idea, so Mikey Johnston played right wing sometimes as well, and it wasn't as good for him. Blah blah blah. Anyway, but imagine the rest of the team was kicking on. The transfer value of the whole squad would be going through the roof off of the back of these Mikey Johnston wonder goals and skinning people and all the rest of it. So it's funny how perception can have such a knock-on effect in a weird way, I suppose, isn't it? Because if we loan him to West Brom and Kuhn's up here doing that for us but better or something, then you're thinking, whoa, what could we sell this guy for in a couple of years, But
Haksabanovic is a good example as well, right? He can't get a game for Stoke. So, everybody was talking about when Jota was there, and people even calling for Haksabanovic to get a run in the team. And I remember, I can't remember what happened, Jota got injured or whatever, and Haksabanovic came in and he just didn't deliver. And now he can't even get a game for Stoke. So,
yeah, I mean, I
stand by it.
I hate to say that. I was adamant. You'll probably remember, McBride, I was absolutely slating Haksabanovic at that time. I called him all sorts of names, and I stand by all of those names. Absolute bang average player, and a Celtic shirt that is. Could do a job elsewhere, but not anywhere near Celtic level. A show pony, if you will. But yeah, I wish him all the best.
We still own him, so might have him back
for
next season.
Oh God! Oh no!
He's only on loan.
Oh no! I had to support him again.
Can you imagine him at Aberdeen or something? But it'd be quality.
Do you know that? I think that's the problem, though. These guys need to play in a team where there's less pressure, where they can just, where they can stand out, and dictate play, and like 1 and 3 or 1 and 4 or whatever is just good, and they go, oh, that guy's got potential. Unfortunately, at Celtic, you just, there's the expression, the jersey doesn't shrink. Don't get that time at Celtic. You needs to, like we said. He gets 2 goals against, I think it was Dundee, we said. Brilliant. Next, you got to do it again. There's no, dwelling on it. And I think it's the mentality. Bring him home, but where is he from? Bosnia? Get him back. But yeah, I think there's definitely, that's a frustrating thing as well. You look at guys like Kelly, you need to, we do need to get behind the team, Margaret. You're absolutely right. We need to get guys, see Kelly, guys like our own, we need to absolutely get, guys like that into that team when they've got quality. I don't know if you guys have been following this, I'm sure you have. Leverkusen are ramping up their chase for Kelly. Absolute top drawer. And, if we don't, lock him down in the same way that, you mentioned Ben Summers, the same way Vata, we're going to end up losing those guys and regretting them.
Yeah, that's one of the problems, isn't it? Because for example, would you spend like 3, 4, 5 million or whatever buying Paulo Bernardo at this stage? I don't think so. I mean, after he scored that goal against Rangers, maybe it looks as if he was cementing.
No, I agree.
Maybe, but yeah, I think at this stage, maybe the argument I had with Forrest and Vata was that in a way that Vata's progression into the team was being blocked by guys like James Forrest who were just hanging about, and then Rodgers with his absolutely brilliant quotes saying that Forrest's actually the best winger we've got at the club still and stuff. Well, actually, we're in bad shape if he's that guy who just if he's the best winger we've got at the club. We're in really, really bad shape at the moment after signing Quinny and guys like Palma and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, at some point, James Forrest's going to have to either call it a day or get a role at the club that doesn't involve playing, or maybe move on. Maybe he goes and he does something some of the older Scottish players, or even younger ones like Gold play, like in the MLS, all that type of stuff. So, and be a shame to see guys like Kelly and Vata and stuff come through and just completely move on and flourish elsewhere when you've got them there, and you don't need to do anything but give them a good deal or give them some guaranteed game time somewhere until they've proven that they can do it every week. But he looks really good, and fingers crossed he doesn't get snatched from underneath our nose. So.
Do you not think is find as well, like just like you need players with some Celtic DNA, and I don't mean like Ralston and Welsh who are Celtic DNA, but they're never starting players. Come on, like they're just hanging about there. McGregor, and that's it. I mean Forrest as well, but I agree with you, McBride. His time at Celtic, MLS would be the right call in my opinion. Probably have a nice 2-3 years there at a decent standard, but Kelly, give him a fast track him, just even as bold, just stick him in Saturday, start him, give him confidence. I mean, would you feel any better or worse with Kelly over Bernard, for example? Absolutely not. Get him in, give him a shot. I think that's what's required. Rather than we just lose guys like that. We've lost we've talked about it for so much in the show, all the left backs that we've lost through the academy, and then even the young guys that we've lost, like the boy Morrison to Bayern Munich and so on and so forth. We just seem to be leaking talent through our youth setup. Make a statement with Kelly, tie him down, give them the start, give them the confidence, get that Celtic DNA flowing, and the starting 11 in our team again.
Yeah.
Question the Japanese. Sorry, mate. I want to close this tab, but the Japanese transfer window closes on the 27th of March.
Right.
The MLS is 23rd of April.
That's ages in. Yeah. No, so I just want to make a quick point about Liverpool, as you were saying about that. So obviously Liverpool with a real big injury crisis, right? But look at the game tonight, and okay, they were winning for the first game. But Connor Bradley and Kwanzaa and Bobby Clark, guys like that playing, and it's not only that. It's not just a case of playing when they've got games won and stuff. They were all playing in like a cup final and everything recently, and nobody'd ever heard of Connor Bradley before this season, and the guy looks like a very good player. So I totally agree with what you're saying, Mark, because remember when way back at when Kieran Tierney came into the team and he was only 17, nobody really heard of him. He got into the team and he was hardly ever out the team again in all reality. So if you give these guys a chance, maybe they'll prove that they have got the quality, and that might be the route to go down, rather than just always just bemoaning luck or saying we'll get guys injured and stuff. Clearly have got a talented squad, and it's up to Rodgers to find the system and the style of play to win games, basically, because we've dropped too many points, right? It's not just about style of play, we've dropped loads of points against other teams as well.
Yeah. And it's because we can't kill the games off the same way, and Brian's brought it up pretty well here. I think Maeda is starting to really become the Maeda we kind of got in the best spells of him, but through international windows, which he's about to have another international window with, of course, and the odd niggling injury here and there, we've not really had a consistent period of any cohesion in the front three. But Dyson, as we've said on the stream, and I think we've all seen as Celtic fans, is a guy that needs to be getting reps all the time. He needs to be like playing every week, getting high minute counts, being involved. And once he's fully up to speed, he's good to go. He's fine. But the lack of finesse sometimes can make that a bit frustrating. Sometimes with some of the opportunities and chances that don't quite get completed. But he is clearly best 11 front three when everyone's fit and available now. Clear cut. I think the Celtic fans that were on the fence or on the other side of the fence is gone. We're all in the same Dyson Maeda field now, I think, as Celtic fans. Would you agree?
Yeah.
I think us three are, and Sean as well, and many Celtic fans, but I don't know why, but I put myself through it. But when I look at those comments in the Celtic Twitter and Instagram before games, it just makes me want to greet. By the way, I fully agree with Brian McGarry's point there about is there any proof that they're better than Forest out with Maeda? He's right. The simple answer is no. Kuhn's not better than Forest. Yang's not better than Forest. I don't think Palma's better than Forest. The problem is that Forest has now got a perception that he's too old. By the way, he's only 31, I think. I think he's still maybe just turned 32 at an absolute push. But he's not 37. He's not 42. The guy's still got, he's still got a bit of, and see when he's played, by the way, he's looked good. It's not like he's came on and you've went, oh God, Forrest's terrible. He's been good. But clearly Rodgers that decision's been made. He's not going to play for Celtic. What age is he? 32.
33 in the summer.
All right, so 32-year-old. I mean, probably that's just the thing. I mean, look, he's definitely way out the picture now. That's about 8 games there I've seen where he's not played. So no, it's more. It's about 10. So he's not going to play again. Just move him on to the MLS and allow him to have bow out with some dignity with a couple of the games at the end of the season. But
is that hat-trick against Hibs?
That was the one. He was. I was going to say he was superb that day, but that's fairly obvious. He's been one of those guys that has been so underappreciated at Celtic. I always remember, and I arguing with people on Twitter because at that time with Paddy Roberts and fans were saying Forrest was rumoured to be leaving, and fans on Twitter saying I'll drive him down myself. All those crappy, tacky cliches. But I was astounded that people were willing so openly to play Paddy Roberts before they'd even seen him ahead of Forrest. And of course, Forrest demonstrated and bossed Paddy Roberts about for a long period. Forrest has got to be Celtic legend status, surely. That contribution that he's given. Loyalty.
You've said some pretty big things, but I don't think anyone has definitely said they're better than Forest. But I think the problem is, if we were playing Forest in the best front three, we would all be, there would be Sharks. The Sharks would be out, right? If Forest was in our best front three for the season, then we were shaping up for the Champions League group stages with Forest on the right, Maeda on the left, and Ida on loan from Norwich through the middle. The Sharks would have probably been out. So it's Yang is definitely not proved he's better than Forest in any kind of real meaning of that term, if you get me. But if Yang's available, I'm picking him first, and probably same with Kuhn, if you get me. Palma.
I think it's, but see, to be honest with you, I think it's more perception. And I think that's the difficulty is it's perception that we struggle to get over with, and that's why when everyone was saying Mikey Johnson's terrible, I'm saying no, he's not. He's brilliant. It's just he's not good in this scenario. I think the majority of games in SPL, you start Forest on the right. For us, in 90% of fixtures in the SPL, nothing, no, at very least the same. We get this guy's. You got to remember, this guy's single-handedly got us through massive moments in the last 10 years at Celtic. But I particularly remember big games against Rangers where he's just smashed them. Now, you say, well, he's not the same guy. Well, the only bit that you would really say is he's dropped off a wee bit in pace, but he's still got all that ability. His whole game wasn't just pace. He's got quality. So I think it's personally, I just think it's pure perception. And because remember the first time when Rodgers was there, Rodgers was obsessed with Forrest. That was his one player that he knew that he was going to rely on. But I kind of sensed it was never going to happen this time round because too much money had been spent on, those other guys. Lawwell's obviously. We talked about this in the summer about the money on Yang and Kwon and these guys who, brilliant players, development players, let's say, but in terms of Jam today, they were never going to be the solutions that were required. And I just feel like Forrest kind of thrown under the bus from that point of view. Where do you know what? Something I would one final point about Forrest on that is that I think a bit for him as well. He's got to take a wee bit of responsibility in himself and make a decision and say, you know what? See, if I'm not playing at Celtic for that amount of time, I mean, we know that James McCarthy's just. I mean, that's shameful what he's doing, right? As a Celtic fan, because he clearly is. But you would like to think James Forrest would just kind of say, "Let's call it a day now." I'll bow out with a bit of dignity. I think
do the Gary Neville.
I'd say this season is the one where just go and play another team. Just go enjoy it. Bit of family time. Go and play in America or something like that.
That's somewhere else.
Yeah, because he's not. Or go to Aberdeen or Hibs or something, and be a starter for 2 or 3 years. Don't just dwindle as a Celtic reserve player for the next 3-4 years. Yeah, that's just for itself.
Do you know what I just remembered? I remember you said that Palmer was better than Jota.
I still think that. By the way, I think Jota's. I think we have no. Go and look at the stats, and you see that I was still correct.
You're still deluded. Come on,
I think your revisionist version of Jota is that Jota was prime Di Canio. I think people need to go back and look at the numbers on Jota. It was not that amazing. Jota's nowhere near playing for Al Ittihad. Never mind Glasgow Celtic. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed that period, and got a wee turn at him when he was on Sorare, but as an actual top talent, come on, let's be realistic about this.
There are types of players, but yeah.
Can I say, see recently, right? See the fact he's still not getting into the squad. Like I can only like the standard of the Saudi Arabian general football player is far beneath that of what there is in Scotland. Like, how far are we talking? It is like light years difference, you would say. The average Motherwell player would
That's
probably...
the nicest thing you've ever said about Scottish football, Quinny.
Nah, maybe. I will work on that, because I think that may be the case, but I don't want that to be the case. But, so if Jota can't even get on the bench in that team, it's surely not footballing merit. Maybe it's... Because you remember what he was like at Celtic as well? He's like O'Reilly. He's a spiritual guy, and he loves wearing double denim with a bumblebee top and doing all that kind of stuff in his spare time and having a mustache and cool haircuts and being Jota, So you can imagine maybe going to Saudi Arabia and trying to be Jota, and they're like, "You're not the Jota we fought, number one, and number two, don't do that shit here."
You're not the Jota we fought. See the thing is, right? The problem is that see those teams, and this is horrendous that I do have this knowledge. I know McBride's dabbled in a bit of the Saudi league as well, but those big teams, your Al Hilals and Al Ittihads and Al Nasser and those sides, they've got all of the marquee Saudi players as well. So like the guy that plays for Al Hilal is the kind of left. This the Jota position is the Saudi Arabia. I think he's the Saudi Arabian captain. So I know that they've also got Al Ittihad. They've also got a fairly marquee Saudi player that plays in a similar position. So I think
the bench, man, come on.
No, but you got to remember they've brought other foreign guys in as well, and that's now they're on to now like the third manager since Jota's been there. It's just a weird. I mean, look, I enjoyed Jota when he was at Celtic. I thought he was great. I just felt, and I said this all the time, I just felt he was too greedy. In the same way that I think Palmer's too greedy. I won't sit and pretend that there's a huge gulf between Palmer and Jota as players. I think they're probably much closer than fans think. But I would say, based on pure contribution on like pro rata appearances, he's probably done more than Jota. Palmer, that is.
I don't think Palmer would get an Al Ittihad team.
wow.
On sporting merit or otherwise, I don't think Palmer. Al Ittihad wouldn't even sign Palmer. They wouldn't even spend they wouldn't even throw their petrol dollars at him. So, but no, I get it. Like I was on here quite a lot crying out for Jota to be a match winner because he'd been through spells of not being that. But again, it feels like the same decry that we've got at the beginning of the stream for Matt O'Reilly. It's like sometimes you're asking Jota to do that, but we've got up front. We've sold Giakoumakis, and this is happening somewhere else in the pitch, and we've not got a left back that's not Taylor. Taylor's fine, but other things are going on. So, fair enough. Like Jota's not definitely like there's rose tinted glasses were put on straight away as soon as he left. There was no time for nostalgia to kick in with that. I get that, but he's still class. Way better than Palmer.
Oh, see that stupid song as well. Oh, that was hard. That was hard. That stupid. Oh, that was difficult to listen to. But no, he was. I mean, so brilliant. Do you like that song? Oh wow,
I like that song.
So there was, there was some real big moment. I mean, I thought in so many great games. I always remember the pass to Kyogo in that European game. Kyogo takes it down and slots it in the corner, the bottom corner of the keeper. Some iconic moments where I thought. But just to be clear, by the way, I think he is a better player than Palmer. I just think Palmer's done more, and I think Palmer's a wee bit a wee bit scapegoaty at the moment now because there always has to be 1 or 2 or 5 scapegoats in that Celtic lineup, and he certainly. Oh, there you go, Jace. Thanks a lot for that, Jace. I knew you had to spoil it. But I think there's definitely guys in there that need to vastly improve. I mean, see Kuhn as well. Like people when Kuhn came in, he's the greatest player in the world. Then 2 games later, he's the worst player in the world. Then after that game at the weekend, there he's kind of brilliant again. I think we need to understand that there's going to be time for people to adapt. There's in some players like you've mentioned, Quinny, are just pure confidence and adaptability into the squad. They might not be players fit for today. Like a perfect one is, as I think I've said before, is Odin Holm, who I think is an exceptional talent. He just looks like he's not ready just now, but you can see that. I don't know, like physically once his body fills out, because he's technically got the ability, but you can just see he's just a wee bit skinny type still. Get in that gym, bulk out, get some more experience on the pitch, and he'll be ready to go. I think there's guys like that just look, and Yang as well. I mean, Yang hooked in that St Johnstone game away, and I've defended him a lot, but it was horrendous that day. He rightfully hooked at halftime, but in the game, apart from that stupid decision at like the high boot, you can't defend that really. I mean, he's deserved that red card, and some silly kind of decision making from him, but overall he looks to be adapting pretty well, you know, to the team. So if you can just, those guys a year down the line, you know, I think are going to be invaluable to us. But yeah, need to keep them and develop them.
It's hard to. I think we've relentlessly seen Palma only play on the left-hand side, and with Maeda getting into the form he's in, it's going to be really hard to see Palma come in to start. But a lot of chat that's going around at the moment is about Maeda's effective efficiency as a centre forward in a front three system like he does for the national team, etc. So you never know, depending on fitness and availability. Or maybe even we're thinking about next season if we don't extend on Ida or buy somebody, because I wouldn't rule that out at this point either. But I don't think he comes back into the team straight away the same way like Carter Vickers has and Hatate will, for example. I think Palma will need to get minutes from the bench and wait for Maeda to go on a downward turn for a period to get the start back in. But with Kuhn, with Yang being suspended, it's Kuhn or Forrest this weekend. The front three, and Roger's very glowing, and he's a big James Forrest fan, as we all know. But Kuhn is the money signing; he's the quality in January. Remember that he was the quality signing in January. Roger said it himself. I back it up as well, guys. Get academy pedigree, if nothing else. So
yeah,
and then we've got Forrest. Who do we play?
I think Kuhn will play. I mean, he was really good at the weekend. Roger said something else about he'd lost weight, or is this medical thing he had with his dental thing, and the other thing that people forgot about as well is that in Austria they take a break. So when he came in and he started playing, it's kind of almost in like pre-season, if you know what I mean, because he hadn't played a game for like 6 weeks. So so fingers crossed that's the real sort of player like coming out now. And come back to the Palma thing. I think the thing with Palma is that, as you said before, Quinny, he's not really an out-and-out winger. So often he'll come into the discussion of him being a winger because he's playing off the left-hand side, but he isn't really actually a winger. So, you know, it was difficult at the start. For example, he would beat a guy, or, you know, rarely beat a guy, but we did beat a guy who would swing it in, Kyogo standing in the middle. So actually having Ida there gives you a wee bit of sort of variety in terms of the tactics. Because, you know, if he was playing now and he was coming inside or whatever, and he puts a ball in, then it might be a lot more effective than it would have been at the point where Furuhashi was playing up front. But anyway, it's another injury as well, and so we kind of don't really need that, because whatever you think of him, he has produced goals, he's produced assists and stuff like that, and coming into the run-in, I think you need as many guys like that as possible, even if it is somebody that's going to come off the bench to play the last 20-30 minutes in some of the games where they're quite close.
And he does love to hit the ball, Palma. If you could put Palma and Maeda together, we would have a £100 million player.
Hi, doesn't work like that, does it?
No, unfortunately not.
So basically, I agree with McBride. I think it'll be Kuhn that starts. So realistically, we're going to, the options are going to be Forrest and Palma off the bench, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, that's good. I mean, I don't think we're going to need any of them against St Johnstone anyway, because it'll be.
Palma's injured, isn't he? He's not in the Honduran squad. So right. I think he's going to be out until after the international break as well.
Well, so he's not playing then. So yeah, I mean, anyway, even Palma with one leg would probably score against St Johnstone on Saturday, because they are a disgrace, and we will be putting about 10 past them at least. Out for 4 weeks, yeah. Well, he's out, gone, but slightly forgotten. But yeah, I mean, realistically, be good to get James Forrest some minutes, because I can see, according to the chart that Quinny pulled up there, he's not played in 10 games. Give him some, surely. Or, I mean, again, but surely at that point then Vata comes into it as well.
Well, again, someone asked us about Vata earlier. His contract still hasn't been extended or whatever, so I think as it stands, he is out of contract in the summer. So I'm not really... I don't think he's going to be getting the minutes. I think that's why Kelly is coming in and getting the minutes, and talks are that we're putting a contract in front of him at the moment. So, yeah, I think maybe Vata has been bombed, or not been bombed, but I think that situation isn't improving. I don't think we'll see Vata come in for this one. And through the middle, you know, like with Ida being the flavour of the month there, getting a couple of goals, until he misses the penalty, and then obviously we get Kyogo off the bench to cap the 4-2 victory off. I think the centre forward position, Kyogo by all rights comes back into this to start, I would think, doesn't he?
I mean, like I've not been here for the fanfare of. I mean, we've been away for a bit.
Yeah.
A big Ida is one of is. I mean, I'm not part of the fan club. I'm afraid. I'm sorry to disappoint people. Like, it's a big backward step that we've just brought in a big lump up front to lump the ball up. It's not the Celtic that I want to see. That I want to see a proper football playing side that, you know, he's Tony Cascarino with a bit more energy. You know, we we want to get quality. I mean, come on, let's not. I mean, I get it. He's came on. He's ruffled up Motherwell. Well done. You know, but you know you've got to look at the games. You know, but after that, where you know he's really not going to be he's not going to be a guy that can go and win you games over a season. I think he'll get goals and you know he'll do well, but I think when it really matters, it really comes to it. You know, you see the game against Hearts. Hearts, as I've said, I've watched. I think I've watched nearly every Hearts game this year, and he looked poor. You know, up against Kingsley and Rolls, poor. I mean, they're both international caliber players, really poor. And that was a game actually on paper. Logically, you thought go with Kyogo because of the space. If like Hearts away, you know, get their defensive line at the halfway line. You're like, please put Kyogo in this game. He'll smash them to bits. But no, we go with Ida, and you know it is what it is. Not want to get too harsh on the guy. He's obviously a Celtic player, and you want to get behind him as a Celtic player and hope he does well. I just think is that for the team and the club to be going down that route of just big long ball, tall guy to knock it down to the wee guy stuff. You know, when he's not got that talent. I mean, fair enough. If it's Chris Sutton, you've got an actual guy who's serious talent on the ground as well. Way behind the likes of Kyogo, in my opinion. And do you know something? I went down to watch Man United at the weekend, thanks to Sorare. Thanks, Sorare. Against Everton, right? And I was watching with Sean from the Sorare Odyssey, and one thing that I was looking at Garnacho, right? And I was thinking, see the amount of times, I don't know if anybody's seen the game with Man United, but Garnacho's got the ball, wonderful talent, right? But he's got the ball on that right-hand side and he's driving into the box. Now, he had about 5 or 6 opportunities where he's got all of that space. And all I kept thinking to myself, and I don't know why, is if Kyogo is in that position, he's scoring 3 of them out of that 5. He just is, because technically he's got that composure and just that sheer ability to just get the ball under control quickly, understand the angles of, you know, the distance between him and the goal when he's got that amount of time, but also just that real composure in those moments to just put the ball away. Garnacho takes 2 or 3 extra touches. He wins 2 penalties out of those situations, and everyone goes, "Wow, that's incredible!" But just keeps on hold on to the ball too long, and I just think Kyogo's really underappreciated because we don't get enough of those moments. Because most of the time Kyogo's getting the ball with his back to some big lump like Andy Considine or somebody who's right up against him tight, you know, and people are like, oh, Kyogo's not done great. Well, he's not done great because he's not getting the chances. Because, like we've said there, you know, like McBride's mentioned, you know, players like Palmer just lumping the ball into the box to him and stuff, you know. So let's be fair to the guy and give him the opportunity. But hopefully, he starts Saturday, gets a wee bit of a chance to play and bring Ida off the pitch, or even Big O, because Big O just seems to have been forgotten a bit, like an unwanted puppy at Christmas time after the Christmas period's over. You know, get Big O back in, the big panda, give him a shot back in that team as a sub, obviously, because he's not going to start.
I'm with you. So what we're thinking then is this, I tried to throw this away in quick style, but is this what we reckon the team is going to look like? Something like this then? Bernardo keeps the place and it's same as, but Carter Vickers comes in for like 60 minutes or something like that probably before, or does he play 90?
Surely you've got to just play him 90, because if he's not going to play against Livy in that fight, in that game before the international break, then because I think we can agree he's not going to play that. Is that be a fair?
Yeah.
That's after the international break, is it not? The international
Livy is
break next week.
Sorry, so it is, yeah. So he's got plenty of time. So
yeah,
I don't think there's any. I think you've got to just go full 90. I don't see the motivation to not play him full 90.
I think that's becoming one of the problems now. Like you've got to get him fit as well, and part of getting him fit is actually getting him to play full games. He's not in the USA squad, so that's good, because if you do play him for 90, then he's got a clear 2 weeks, and then you can make a decision on whether you want to risk him against Livingston or not. But I mean, if he is fit, I think he's got to start, because I'm sorry, but against Livingston, the defence looked awful. Like Welsh was just all over the camp, and yeah, you've got to get him back in ASAP if you have any aspirations of winning anything, I think, this season.
ASAP Rocky.
ASAP Rocky. I think the thing is that you would I'd probably. I mean, I know that McBride's already put his team together for his play sharper, and I've seen that he had Ada up front with Kyogo behind. I think it's a toss up between that. I think it's either Ada misses out or Bernardo. I think that is the dilemma. I think you've got to start Kyogo in this game to make a real statement.
I don't think it's really a game for Bernardo, to be honest. I was thinking back to how they played in Perth, and they were very, very, very defensive. So, I think that playing Ida there would actually work in Furu's favour, because it's taking some of the sort of attention of the defenders away and maybe letting them play a wee bit. So I would quite like to see him try that, to be honest. I know what you're saying about the tactics when Ida is there, but if they're going to sit in, then you've got to find a way to break them down. You've got to find a way to score goals. So I think it'd be quite interesting to see Furuhashi and Ida playing together in a home game, see how that sort of works out, especially with McGregor out at the moment, because there's a gap there as well, right, where you can play Bernardo, but he doesn't really strike me as a attacking midfielder. I think his natural position will end up being a more sort of defensive type midfielder, or a more maybe box to box. But I don't really think this type of game is really the type of game for him. I think you can afford to have both of them in there, just because you'll have so much of the ball, basically.
Forrest off the bench.
It's an omen. It's an omen, by the way. That's
as well.
Wee Tomoki assist.
Yeah, it was a poor first half, but wasn't it? I mean, that was the day where, we delivered in the second half, but I remember we were awful in the first half.
That first half was just horrendous. That was
25 shots, 7 on target. That's Palma, isn't it? He played 80 minutes this game.
Yeah. But also, as well, we had Mr. Turnbull, a favourite of the show, who was starting that game, an absolute disgrace at Celtic. And we wish him all the best at Cardiff, because he will need all of that luck. But yeah, he'll do brilliant there. He will eventually come good there. It's just
needs to get in the team first.
Has he not started the last couple of games?
I think he started the last two. I think he kind of was in and out, and then he had 2 or 3 games where he wasn't starting at all. But I think he has actually started getting some starting berths now. But interestingly, they're playing away, I think, at Swansea, so I don't know whether or not he'll start in that game, if you know what I mean. But
I played him.
More.
A derby match. If you're Cardiff, you've played in derbies bigger than this. You'll be able to handle it.
Yeah,
you know.
But stuff. he's not got much of an engine in him, so it depends how you're looking to play. But they've definitely tightened up a bit as well, because I've ended up with a backdoor Cardiff stack, Horvath, Nat Phillips, and freaking Turnbull. Honestly, that's how I've ended up with a 3-man Cardiff stack.
McBride, what has happened to Nat Phillips? Because he seems to be suddenly a star at Cardiff now as well.
I wouldn't quite go that far. But
There's
yeah,
one. That's what the fans are going nuts about him. They're saying
seems
this is
solid enough.
amazing.
Yeah, I think he seems solid enough, and obviously in that division, I mean, when he signed for Liverpool, I think that's the division he came from, and he did well in. So I suppose it's really familiarity there. I don't think he's pulling up any real trees in terms of like scores and stuff, but he seems pretty solid. And I think because obviously Cardiff brought in the goalkeeper as well, they've started to maybe tighten up a wee bit as well. So the results have started coming again, which is good for them. So we see the game there, they got whopped by Norwich, but then drew against Blackburn, then they won, then 1-0, 1-0.
Wow.
2-1 against Ipswich. Really good team, obviously, in that division. I think they were 1-0 down, actually, and they scored 2 goals in the last 25 minutes as well, so they're definitely on better form.
There he is.
Big DT. Yeah, his scores aren't, his scores aren't anything really to write home about. Turnbull, there's no doubt about that. He's 1 assist, but they are playing him in that sort of number 10 role, or they've got guys there that do the running for him. So if they keep that type of system up, I think he will do well going forward. Obviously,
I caught one game, and he definitely looked. He looked a wee bit rusty. I think part of that is because he's not had the minutes at Celtic, but I feel he will come really good in that Cardiff team, and he'll do really well for them.
McBride's evil twins joined us.
Who's that? Wayne McBride.
It's evil twin Wayne.
Who is this?
Don't know anybody called Wayne, so.
All right, he's got a Chris Boyd photo laughing away. Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a giveaway there.
Carrega Benfica, as they say.
They look.
We just hit the block button. But your evil twin showed up, McBride, but we've dealt with him.
Stuck him in the bin.
Just when I seen that McBride, I couldn't help myself. But yeah, I think if that's the sort of team that we do play, like Kyogo and Ida, it feels like there's a bit of a coin toss up with in terms of like I see the point with that McBride for like getting both of them on if St Johnstone really camp in that sense. But I think like what I've been saying on the podcast on this channel for the last like month is like Rodgers' number one objective is get this team in shape to beat Rangers. It's the number one thing the team has to do now is be able to beat Rangers. So I don't think you want to necessarily chop and change the whole shape of the team between now and just getting the job done, really. I think you just want to get high-level reps in, get everyone in position, get everyone in the best fettle you can, so that when those games come, we're not like, oh, who's playing? What will we play? Who's available? I think you probably wants to avoid that. Just me.
Well, I get your theory there, but watching how many points we've dropped to teams outside Rangers, I would be focusing on this weekend because we laugh about St Johnstone and stuff, and you would fully expect and we should be beating St Johnstone at home, but we've been really pretty crap against all the other teams this season. Let's be honest, we've dropped points in games we shouldn't have. We've drawn against St Johnstone 0-0 at the start of the season here as well. I remember it well because Matt O'Reilly had 3 big chances missed and I'd captained them in Sorare. You missed so many big chances in that game. So let's not take it for granted as well. We'll see. It is a more of an interesting one because obviously Palma's injured and Yang suspended and all that type of stuff. But I wouldn't mind seeing him giving Furuhashi a run. I get chatting to Sean about this as well, Mark. He was talking about Furuhashi's main advantage is actually getting him on the end of runs, that movement in behind and all that type of stuff. But realistically, that's not going to happen in this game. St Johnstone are not going to come out. So maybe just getting him on the pitch beside Maeda and other guys, might be the strategy. But if he doesn't start, he's going to come on, right? So he's going to feature in the game. It's just about who starts and who comes on at what point, I think, more than anything else. So
yeah, totally. Yeah, I think as well. I do take the point though, Quinny. Like we can't be totally ignoring the fact that ultimately this is, this could just simply come down to the games against Rangers, and we realistically will need to beat them at Ibrox. I don't think. I mean, I think we will need to beat them at Ibrox, and I think we can beat them at Ibrox. I think it's just about making sure that we've got the right guys that can do that. And if we play a team without the best players like Kyogo, Carter Vickers, McGregor, then we'll struggle. But if we've got the three on a pitch and we have the benefit and luxury of a Hatate even back, which some I've been told by a couple of Celtic friends that Hatate will be ready after the international break as well. How true that is, we'll soon find out. But if we had three of that four definitely on the pitch, I'd be delighted.
Yeah, definitely.
Likewise. Right, guys, to finish off, will we get a score prediction for the weekend? Will we put our necks on the line and go for it? I'm going to go 4-0. I've said that a few times. It's not happened yet, so I'm going to go 4-0.
Let you go next, Mark.
So I'm going to say one each with brackets, 7-0, right? Because I mean, every time I've said 7-0, it's ended up being a horrible scoreline. So I'm going to just say one each in brackets, 7-0.
I'll go 5-0.
Love it.
I think Vickers will be back, and I think that'll make a difference, to be honest. So yeah, I'm going to go 5-0. I think we'll score goals.
St Johnstone are horrendous.
Well, to anyone that's going to be at the game, I hope you have fun, travel safe, and it's been a pleasure, lads. And yeah, hail, everyone.
Hail, hail.
Good night, guys. Hail, hail.
Oh, I was about to press the wrong button there. There we go. This button.